3 minutes till we get started. See people still hopping on. Give it another minute or so here yet, I suppose. All right, I suppose we can get started. I see people still hopping on. That's fine. They'll keep joining us as we go. Everybody can hear me okay? Just kind of give me a wave or whatever if you. There we go. All right, good. At least somebody can hear me. Perfect. Another brisk, beautiful, cold October morning in central Wisconsin. So high of 43 today. Should be out going. Should be fun going out and talking to voters a little bit later today. So not hoping for 50s yet this time of year, but I guess we can't get everything we want. So I wanted to kind of go through just a few things today, and we'll try to be cognizant of everybody's time and get out of here as soon as we can. But there's some things of importance to get caught up on as we end October here. I just wanted to, first of all, thank the timber professionals and their cooperative for putting out a release this week. The kind of helps lay to rest a little bit of some of the activity rumors that we keep hearing. I know people are antsy for resolution and want to see some positive steps towards restart, and I think we did get to see a very positive step this week. For those of you that hadn't seen the release that came out, I think it was late last Thursday, email came to all of the legislators and stakeholders in the forest industry just to kind of update things where the Timber Professional Cooperative were, the name of the consolidated cooperative, which is not lost on me at all. That was a great way to kick off this this next step for them. I think was to incorporate that to give the community a sense of where we've been and where we're going all at the same time. So I see Henry is on. I know he might not be able to tell us everything about everything, Henry, but wondered if you can just maybe recap a little bit about that release and the timing of it, and kind of just tell us a little bit of the genesis for the release.
Yeah, I'm going to turn that over, Representative. I'm going to turn that over to Don Peterson. He's on as well, and he's kind of been heading up. He's kind of been heading up the cooperative efforts. Turn that over to Don.
Thanks, Don. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Henry. Yes, we had a meeting last Wednesday of the Timber Professionals Cooperative, and then the week before we had a organizational meeting for the Consolidated Cooperative, and we just thought, and I appreciate your acknowledgement that that letter helped out, because that's kind of what we thought, is there was a lot of rumors going around, and we wanted to kind of let everybody know where we were at. And if anybody else wants to see that letter, we sent it out to legislators and also to agency people. And but if there's anybody else that wants to see it, we can get that sent out.
As long as Don, as long as you're okay, we can just post it on our Rapids Together site for everybody. I just didn't know how public you wanted that information, and I figured we'd talk about it today and make sure it's okay to share with everybody.
Absolutely. It's wide open. We're moving ahead, as the letter says. We're very serious. The loggers are very serious about this, and we've retained a lawyer that's talking to Moelis right now. We're still trying to get through the NDA stuff, but we are moving forward. And the Consolidated Cooperative, as you mentioned, would be the bigger multi-stakeholder cooperative, where we're looking to get the community and eventually mill workers as part of it. But for now, the Timber Professionals Cooperative is moving ahead and is taking the lead. But we don't expect to do this effort alone. And we've been talking to a number of individuals within the Rapids community. So we're pretty excited that we thought by now maybe somebody else would have stepped in, but if there isn't anybody else, we are definitely in play and serious about it. And we've had a number of contacts from different financial opportunities for financing it, and we're pretty positive about moving forward with it.
That's great. No, I think that's something that I think the community would love to learn a lot more about. I know there's members of the media present on the call today, and we'll make sure that they also have that information to share with people, that there is a very serious venture going on here, and that we should do everything we can to work together to try to make sure this ends up being something very fruitful and positive and can come together. So I really appreciate that update, Don. And again, Don and Henry and everybody involved on that side, thanks for all your hard work pulling this together. I did want to try to also get updated a little bit. I know there was an interim meeting in between here. I know we weren't able to get together last 2 weeks here, but I know there was an interim meeting with Senator Baldwin's office and some stakeholders in the city of Wisconsin Rapids as well. So we need to get an update for maybe Senator Baldwin's office. I don't know if Brian's on. I hadn't seen. Oh yeah, it looks like Brian's on. Didn't know if you can maybe update us a little bit on how those conversations went, and maybe Mayor Blazer, if he was on as well, to kind of add to that conversation as well. Brian, are you there?
Yes, hello, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me okay.
Yeah,
yeah, it was mostly just a meeting to get the senator sort of some an opportunity to speak with some of the affected groups in the region, sort of just for her to get up to speed and hear directly from people, you know, what's sort of happening on the ground, and, you know, discuss paths forward. By no means was it, you know, intended to supplant the work of the task force. I think because she's been unable to attend the task force meeting, she wanted to get the opportunity to discuss with some of the folks, particularly those who've lost work from the plant, about their experience there. So that was really helpful for her. And, you know, we did hear from Dennis the same concerns that I think Don just raised about, you know, the issues with Moelis and the non-disclosure agreement, which were concerning. And, you know, we've been trying to reach out to Moelis as well to try to shake some of those things loose, and hopefully that will happen. So that's sort of the update we have. The only other thing I'd add, and this is more for a medium to long term, but that we are hoping to work with some folks at the Economic Development Administration and their regional office to use some of their resources to, you know, come up with some sort of market diversification strategies for the region, and not just north central Wisconsin, but also northeastern and the Bay Lake region, about just how these resources can continue to find good markets as the paper industry continues to come under some pressure. So that's still just in its very early stages, but we wanted to engage EDA early on that. So that was part of the discussion as well.
Brian, it's Scott Suter. We'd like to be involved in that as well, if possible. Thank you.
Of course, happy to.
That's awesome. That's a really good segue, actually. I wanted to also touch base with, I see Stacy Johnson's all on as well. And I apologize, Stacy and I were supposed to get together a little bit yesterday and talk a little bit, but I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Brian had said and just where the timber professionals are at as well. Trying to tie all of this into, where WEDC can be a very active player, and trying to figure out if there's a way that WEDC could help guide the legislation into something as we get back towards session in the next couple of weeks here. I want to see, what might be available at WEDC, what you might need out of us in the legislature to make something more available if it's not readily available, because I think it's time to really make an all-in push on trying to find a way to help, if not the timber professionals and consolidated cooperative, to at least find a way for somebody to make a big push into making something more concrete. So Stacy, I didn't know if you had any input on that for us, and I didn't know if we got a long list of meeting participants here. I didn't know if Missy might be available as well.
Thanks for that. Actually, Missy was unable. I don't know. Am I coming across to you sounding very strange?
I had you for, you start really well and then it cuts out at the end of your sentence. So we can try a little bit more here and see how it goes. Okay, let me know. I don't know why it's doing that. Missy was unable to join today, but Scott, I couldn't agree with you more, as far as the legislative push and the need not only to get that mill up and going, but to have attention to the industry as a whole. So in two ways, I would say that we're working in partnership right now. So we mentioned the EDA. There's a couple different things going on there. There's potential to do some work with regional planning to take a look at kind of diversification and opportunities within the city of Rapids. And I'm part of a conversation about that to see if we can be supportive in a grant application with the EDA for that purpose. Additionally, if there's something that's a larger scale EDA conversation, please include me in that, because I am absolutely willing to jump in and help any way I can with that as well. Separately, been in touch and stay in touch with the cooperative, of course, and we are here and willing to assist in any way we can. We are working still towards a feasibility study, making sure that the correct consultants are a part of that and that it meets the needs for the cooperative. And once some of those questions are straightened out, we are ready to move on that as well. So by all means, if there's another way that you feel the WEDC can be involved or could be in assistance, for instance, if there's an additional EDA grant, please reach out to me directly. If I don't have the answer, I most certainly can connect you to who would. All right, sounds good. Because I know we've had a lot of conversations in the past and moving forward about some of the bigger players and some of the bigger deals that WEDC has been involved with. And I think this is one of those that we can swoop in and show a lot of credence to the reality of what can be done here if we can work together legislatively with WEDC and pull together another financing opportunity for the most likely individuals to come forward. And I think right now we're with the TPC and Consolidated. So I think we'll definitely double back with you offline. That's kind of what the topic of my conversation was meant to be yesterday before I got the call to pick up the little guy from school. So sorry about that, but no problem. We'll definitely stay in touch. Yeah, he was. Thank goodness. It's just a stomach thing and not anything else that's going on with everything right now. So I appreciate that. Yeah, and absolutely. As far as that goes, once we have a little more information, and I know there's been some calls made from leadership within WEDC as well to Moelis regarding, I don't want to say lack of a response, but
difficulty in getting a response, I suppose, as it pertains to that non-disclosed too. So, once we get to that step where there's ownership intact, those conversations absolutely will happen. And Don and Henry, they know that I'm available. They know multiple ways to reach out to me, and I'm eager to help. So
good. I think it's a good opportunity for Senator Testin, Representative Shanklin, Representative Vandermeer, and myself to also try to reach out and find out what's going on with Moelis and see if we can try to shake some trees too, as long as Senator Baldwin's office is and the WDC is. And I think it's plan to make an all-in push to try to see what we can do there. I wanted to maybe next go to David Sams and maybe see if there might be an opportunity for us to work with you to try to find out what might be going on at Moelis and maybe, bump it up the tree a little bit and see how we can go. I had a good conversation with the new interim CEO in Ohio, and I think we have a good understanding of each other and what our expectations are. And I think, he was a little shell-shocked, to be honest, that, things kind of shook out the way they did, but I think he's ready for the opportunity to step forward. So maybe David, you can give us a little update from Verso's perspective where things are at. That'd be great.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So as everybody knows, or I would guess the pandemic continues to force real big challenges on our end use consumers, continued challenges with demand for graphic papers. And so we are continuing to explore viable and sustainable alternatives for the mill, including marketing it for sale, restarting it if market conditions improve, or in the last case and worst case scenario that we all hope never comes, is permanently closing the facility. So while we have been marketing the mill, it's just really become apparent that achieving an acceptable near-term sale is not going to be possible right now, just given the difficulties buyers are having in evaluating such a complex structured transaction in the current COVID-19 environment. And so what that means in plain English, so as I have been entertaining and in conversations with interested parties, we've had more than one situation where we've had cancellations and those kinds of things, just COVID related with travel and those kinds of things. For to buy such a big facility with so many moving parts and to not really be able to make arrangements to come in and really kick the tires and take a look at things and get the right people in. The whole COVID business and COVID world we're in has just interrupted that. It's not that we haven't had some here, because we have, but we've also had some interruptions. So anyway, the Verso Board of Directors believes it's best for us to postpone the current marketing and sales efforts until the economic environment improves. And I think that also includes the whole COVID environment relative to show and tell possibilities. So it's not that we're pulling it off the market or anything like that. We're still in conversations and those type things, but we're just backing off a little bit from that. We are continuing to run our converting operation and one power boiler to support that. And so we're also looking from a converting standpoint, we're looking at it strategically and doing a lot of evaluations to see if that's a viable option for us as Verso to continue to run our converting operations for a longer term. So that's going on as we speak. We continue to look at that, evaluate that, and hopefully that comes to fruition. It's just so hard to have that crystal ball and know what's going to happen with the changes in demand relative to the coronavirus impacts to the end use consumers, as I mentioned. So in addition, as you mentioned, Representative Krug, the board of directors is named Randy Neville, and I'm sure most everybody knows that as he was a current board member. He's now our interim president and CEO. Replacing Adam St. John that resigned September the 30th. It's another thing with that change, and perhaps in your conversation with him, you know, just seeing that change in leadership, anytime you have a change in leadership, it brings a different look and different eyes and different thoughts about ongoing opportunities and possibilities. And so that's happening right now. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. I guess I'll open it up for any questions.
Senator Teston, I saw you had a question.
Yeah, David, not to put you on the spot here, but I'm a little troubled by what I just heard. So, you know, when the announcement was made back earlier in the summer that Verso is going to get out of this marketplace with boycott because of the downturn in the economy, and now what I'm hearing is that the board of directors wants to kind of string this along to a point where we're in a better economic standpoint, so they get a better value or price for the mill to a potential new buyer. I mean, we've got 900 families are out of work right now. I can't fathom why Verso would just kind of string this along this entire process when the whole point of this task force is to try and find every avenue possible to find a new buyer if Verso is in fact not interested in staying in central Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I, you know, I appreciate the thought, the concern, and certainly, you know, for me personally, these are people I know face to face. They're not some pie in the sky folks. I'm at the Wisconsin Rapids Mill right now. So this isn't you know, our desire is to do whatever we can, you know, certainly to move forward with selling the mill to a potential buyer and someone that would run the entire mill. I will say that, you know, everybody that I've been engaged with up to this point have been paper making organizations. They're not scrap dealers and that sort of thing. But from a business standpoint, we do have a business to run. And so we've got to evaluate what that looks like from our standpoint. The other thing we were very public with is, you know, from a selling standpoint, it's not going to be a good situation for us to sell to somebody that would be in the same competitive market and of the papers that we make now.
So here's where I'm at with this, and I echo Senator Teston's frustration here. Is I completely understand being a publicly traded company and that we haven't wanted to have a lot of information shared, and you know, honestly, that we can't, and I get that it's not legal to share all that. I know from knowing those people just as much. I know of the industry in this facility. I know of the people that have wanted to come through. I know the ones that haven't been able to make it, even though they've wanted to. But I also know that there looks to be some really viable options right now. So I think my intention here, and to make it publicly known to everybody, is that it's time for us to make sure that this sale is effected as much as we possibly can. And I think if that's something that Verso is going to have to take some time to be ready for, I get that that's their position, but I think we're going to be as humanly possibly ready to support whichever entities come to the table and shown interest publicly. And I think legislatively, we're going to work to make sure that we push that they be fully ready and capable to make any push that they need to. So I think as we move forward here in our conversations, I appreciate your position, David, but Senator Teston's right. There's 900 families here. I'm not going to be in the position to wait for Verso to say, yeah, okay, we're ready to sell now. We're going to make sure that we're ready on the backside of it. So I'm not putting you on the spot either, because I know it's a corporate decision and it's something that's coming down from somewhere else. And I feel the position you're in too. But just, you know, as we relay back to corporate, you know, Randy and I, like I said, we had that conversation. This is an aspect that did not come up in that conversation with Randy. And I wanted to make sure that that's relayed back as well. If there's any conversations ongoing, that this was not something that I was informed of, and that's something that we'll have to continue this conversation on with them as well. So I where you're at with it, I get it.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Just in the interest of transparency, so with conversations that you had in recent days, I think maybe you said you talked with Randy last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what the information that I have given you relative to this board of directors, that's something that hasn't been publicly communicated yet. So this would be the first time that
Okay.
has been communicated. So I would say when you were talking to him, and he can speak for himself, I know you'll talk to him again, but I'm going to say that decision and that information wasn't alive at that time.
Okay.
So, we had conversations yesterday was my first knowledge of that direction. So I was given permission to communicate it to this group, and that was just in the interest of transparency, even though it hasn't been publicly communicated as yet.
No, like I said, I appreciate that. I just, as we move forward, I know there's going to be a lot of frustration with that sentiment right now. So we'll keep working and make sure that everything else is ready as we go. I see a question from Stacy Johnson here. It says, David, can you share the timeline the board has decided on, and how long do you anticipate postponing the sales efforts?
Yeah, so the response I was given with the same question is we're going to postpone until the economic environment improves. So, we're putting this mill up. We've got people here right now making sure that equipment is taken care of, that we get through a Wisconsin winter, that at any time that we or someone else wanted to start the mill back up, that could be done. So that's the best answer I can give you is I don't know when the economic environment would improve or what those foretelling signs would be that would say, hey, we go ahead and start moving forward. I would also suggest that doesn't mean that we're closing the door on listening to people interested in the mill. I talked to somebody yesterday. It was a new person in the mix.
So David, if you don't mind me asking, so the board of directors, Verso Corporate, keeping all options open, and I've heard this term over and over again now in your update, things could change if the economic environment improves. What exactly does that mean? Has the board of directors given you a directive or benchmarks that would have to be hit in order for the plant to reopen? Because when you just say, well, if the economic environment improves, well, that could mean anything. I mean, does that put the mill back at, capacity at 90%, 85%, 70%? I mean, that's a pretty wide open statement. And as
yeah,
together on this, I would just like to know if we're talking about transparency coming down from the board of directors, that we as stakeholders here on this task force have a good idea of what that means if we're going to be open and honest and working together on this.
Yeah, so I appreciate that question, Senator. I don't know the answer to that, but I will seek to get some clarity with that. And exactly, what does that mean? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we were hitting the end of August, early September, it seemed quite apparent that Verso was ready to move on and look at other things and not even entertain the possibility of reopening. I am trying to glean a little silver lining out of your statements here today, David, but it sounds as though Verso hasn't completely given up on operating the facility themselves if conditions improve.
Yeah, so I would say personally that I shared your same thoughts that you had. I would be real careful with communicating anything that would, and not from any protection of knowledge or anything else relative to whether Verso would start the mill up. I still don't think that is a high probability. I would just say that it's never been off the table. It's always been something that, hey, our number one for moving things forward, and especially for getting people back to work, would have been to sell the mill to somebody that wanted to invest in it and do some things differently and get the thing running. At this point, we've got a change in leadership and people looking at things a little differently. And with the fact that we haven't been able with the economic situations and with COVID in there to get to secure a buyer at this point, it just makes that option it's still an option, right?
So David,
Well, and that's,
if I
yeah,
may
go
ask
ahead.
you a question, David, and when I had a conversation with your predecessor early on in this process, is there anything that the state could do to get Verso to stay? And at that time, it was basically the answer was no, we're not interested. But now that it seems like we're kind of back at square one, where Verso is exploring any and all options, have there been any discussions with the board of any incentives that the state could provide through WEDC to get you guys back up and running?
Yeah, so, please, 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 there's, I read you a statement, that includes exactly what it was before that. One of those options, it was sell the mill, wait till the economic conditions change and Verso would reopen the mill, or as a last result, we would close the mill permanently. And none of that has changed. And I would ask everybody to be real careful with putting any more weight on to that piece of that statement that says Verso would reopen the mill. It's getting to be wintertime in Wisconsin. It's if you understand the paper industry, it wouldn't be a lot of fun for anybody to try to start this mill up in January. And so you're looking at an extremely complex transaction with an extremely complex facility. For somebody to purchase this facility and organize all the efforts it would take to start the mill back up. So you just kind of weigh all of that along with the economic challenges that we're facing, as well as the COVID challenges that everybody's facing, of what the reality is. I can understand where the board's coming from with saying, hey, we're just kind of slowing down on this and holding off on this a little bit based on current situation. So I think we got to wait on what's the change in the economic environment, and what does that look like going forward? I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball, but certainly to Senator Teston's request, what are those parameters? What are those economic conditions? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll seek to get an answer for that.
All right, I see a couple more questions here have popped up, and just to put a cap on that a little bit, David, we're going to be as relentless as we've been to try to make sure that the 900 families are having more options for manufacturing employment in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So, I'll cap it off with that. But as you mentioned, going through the winter, putting that equipment, in the preservation process. Is it going to take, if this is a process that takes 6 months, 9 months, a year, is that equipment, is it going to cost more at some later date to reboot operations?
Well, that's not sure exactly how to answer that. Anytime you shut down a big place like this, when we shut down just for a big outage, a cold mill outage, it's a major undertaking to get this big beast back up, right? Just like it is any big facility. So, yeah, it'll be more challenging to bring up a mill that's been down for a while, but that's the reason we're going through the preservation efforts, is to minimize that change. So when you say, does it cost more? The answer to that is yes, but it's the reason for the preservation is to nominalize and make that as least amount of additional cost as possible.
Okay, and then Don with the cooperative had asked also, he said, we'd been told that we got to go through Moelis for negotiations. And then he says, you just stated that you talked to a potential buyer. What is the actual process that somebody should be going through? Is it to work with Moelis? Is it to work with you? Is it to talk to corporate?
It's absolutely Moelis. And just so that you know, that the person that called me from the organization, I was actually on our monthly management business review call with the CEO and the senior lead team yesterday. When he called, all I was able to do was tell him, hey, I'll have to call you back because I'm on a phone call. And so when I called him back, that was basically to give him the information of who he needs to talk to. It's not me.
Is it still Brandon at Moelis? I think that was his name. Is that a main contact point at Moelis, or can you forward that to me at least offline at some point so we know who that is directly?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it was Brandon Muse or somebody similar to that.
Yes.
Trying to remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I see a couple other questions. I think those might be more DNR related.
Sorry
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. This is Brian Conlon. I just wanted to, before we move off that Moelis point, I did want to flag that when I've reached out to Moelis, they've given me the runaround that I need to go back to Verso. So there seems to be a bit of, we are having trouble getting information about who we need to talk to try to shake some of these things loose. So I don't know if David, if you could relay that to Moelis or whoever, but they've referred us back to Verso and seems to be.
Is that relative to saying, hey, I'm an interested party and I would like to look at the mill as a buyer? Or is that requesting information about people that we're dealing with that's all covered under the confidentiality agreements that we talked about?
I mean, I think it's the latter, but I mean, when we're hearing from constituents that they can't get a response as a buyer, we're trying to get information about that and we're getting turned back to Verso. Obviously, we're not trying to buy the mill, but just that we're getting shut down and we're being referred over to Moelis doesn't seem right either.
Right. And I think the point, David, is that, that Brian and Senator Baldwin's office would, say is that I've got the same concern, is that when board of directors says, okay, we're ready, and if Consolidated Cooperative and TPC are ready, at whatever point that everybody's ready, we have kind of a logjam right now where Moelis has said, or Moelis hasn't said anything. Moelis won't give any information to anybody. I think, whether there's a pause in the marketing of it or not, there's still somebody who's very interested, very ready. Looks like they've got a financing opportunity. Looks like they've got product idea. Looks like this is something that Moelis should at least be entertaining and working through a process with the NDA. So at the point that Verso says, okay, let's go ahead and do something else, and we don't want to do our part in this anymore, well, why not have that conversation ready that Moelis has already talked to TPC and Consolidated Cooperative about all the aspects, entered the NDA, gone through all of those things. I don't see a reason why that shouldn't happen. And I guess, to relay that to the board of directors is kind of where I would think Brian would be at the same point with Senator Baldwin's office.
Okay, I'm just taking a note because I'm trying to understand the difference between, hey, I'm an interested party and I want to put my name in the hat. I'm interested in purchasing this facility versus trying to get information about people that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think TPC and Consolidated Cooperative, I think they're ready to be active purchasers, and I think they've expressed that they can't get a direct answer from Moelis on how to proceed with that. I think that would be the direct path to take here, going back to the board saying, hey, we need a direct path for somebody who's interested. And Senator Baldwin was pretty clear about this a couple of weeks ago in her release, and I give her credit for it. And again, this is the least partisan thing that could ever happen, is trying to help 900 people find their jobs back again. So I give Senator Baldwin credit. It's time. I mean, we've got to find a way to at least communicate that interest, and to find a point person to communicate that interest, and to move forward on anything that the TPC and Consolidated Cooperative might need to formulate their financing and to be ready for cutting the check if the time comes where it's time for cutting checks. So that's what I want people back home here, where we are, where you're at right now, Wisconsin Rapids, to know that everybody's doing everything they possibly can. And I think that would include Verso on doing everything they possibly can with Moelis to at least have open and readily available communication with anybody, like as far as, where these cooperative guys have all come so far. I think they're serious. I think everybody should know how serious they are. So if the board can, help Moelis understand that it's time for that conversation to be happening, that'd be great.
Okay.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit then, try to figure out on our community side where things are at. I know the TAA has also been approved. I wanted to touch base with Jane. I see she's patiently waiting to give us a little bit of an update on where things are at with TA and some of the activities surrounding the employees.
Good morning. So the Dislocated Worker Program continues to serve people as they come in, giving them orientation to the program. We've got 59 individuals enrolled and in training programs. And as you mentioned, the TAA, the Trade Adjustment Assistance, was certified. And I believe Chris Porter is on the line. So we have the Title I services that we've provided so far, but since the TAA certification, that's another federal program that kicks in to provide additional services. And if Chris is on the line, she wants to talk about that program a little bit.
Absolutely. I do have some updates that just came in yesterday and this morning about TAA. So I'm going to go through those. We will be conducting DWD will be conducting the TAA intake orientations the weeks of November 9th and November 16th. So we are working on getting some virtual sessions so that it makes it easy and accessible for a wide majority of folks. There will be packets that are going to be going out tomorrow or Friday to the Verso folks that will include a lot of information. It will also include application information with a stamped self-return envelope so that the applications can be returned by mail. There will also be a TAA central mailbox information so that folks can contact that mailbox with any questions, and also so the applications can be scanned and emailed if the participant chooses. Someone may wonder, what is the benefit for someone to be enrolled in TAA? So I'm just going to go over a few of those right now so that you are aware. As I mentioned, the packets will be going out tomorrow and Friday. The sessions the weeks of the sessions have been identified. Benefits of being a TAA participant. I'm sorry, I just got that word twisted. Benefits of being a TAA participant include career exploration assistance and determining what the individual would like to be doing in their next right job, training and educational opportunities in their desired field of interest, shooting for that future employment. All those things would be paid by TAA program funds. And there are also reimbursements that are available for travel to educational facilities if required, and also for some supplies and technology needs that maybe that we maybe can help with for the education and training of the Verso folks. Now, each person would be having a career planner, which would be part of our DWD team. That career planner would assist in the guidance and the facilitation between the individual and the technical college or the training provider, providing a guiding hand, sharing information about education and training, answering questions, helping to navigate through a variety of systems. And it is our goal that when someone starts the TAA program, that their career planner will be walking alongside them for the 2-year period of generally a technical college education. So there's a lot of information that they will be receiving. There's a lot of guidance and help that can be provided through a TAA program, and it also can join with the Dislocated Worker Program to provide a wide variety of services for the Verso folks. So that's just a very quick and brief overview of where we are at this minute. But yes, we've been working toward getting all this information out, and it'll be sent out, as I mentioned, tomorrow and Friday.
Excellent. I see a question came up about that. Are participants eligible to receive unemployment for the entire time of the training? Like the like almost up to 2 years, or how does that work? Do you have any details on that?
I wish I could give you a really concrete answer on that one, but what I did promise is that for our TAA team that I was going to write down any questions and shoot it their way. So I'm going to put that question down, and I will get back to the group on that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is. I know. I appreciate that. That's kind of the whole point of why we're here, is to bounce those pieces of conversation off of each other and help find answers. So I really appreciate that.
Okay.
Can I add, Representative Krug, because Christine mentioned this already, but once they have become TAA certified, we work together with the Department of Workforce Development and putting that package together, and it is a case by case. So it is important for those individuals to return that package that Christine is talking about, because it adds another level of benefits for those workers as far as training and moving forward. So we will continue to work together on this end to serve those individuals the best we can. Good,
thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jane, for saying that. I think it's great when we can have programs work together to benefit individuals, and this is one example of that. So,
all
good
right,
partnership.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think, as we kind of hit the end of October, going into Thanksgiving and Christmas, this community side of the task force is getting to be vital, even more so than it was before, to make sure that benefits are continuing, that education is available, that opportunities exist. We want to make sure that families have plenty of options and ideas and hope for moving forward. So I appreciate everybody's work and all the letters that went in to help you secure this TAA certification across the board, from Senator Baldwin's office to Congressman Tiffany to all of the stakeholders here. To do that it's no small feat to get that approved as quickly as we did. So good work on that, everybody. Wanted to check in a little more locally on community issues. Didn't know if Terry Johns was still on to maybe help fill us in on where any emerging needs are that the task force needs to be aware of, that we can try to help facilitate any improvements on.
Yes, I am still on, Scott. Thanks. I don't really have a lot of information, and mainly in that our 211 lines are so backlogged with COVID calls that I would be surprised if anyone can get through, in all honesty. Yeah. We've got 2 lines running constantly 8 to 5. So at this point since we've met last, there have been no new developments that we are aware of.
Okay. Yeah. And that's one of the side benefits of, this communication we've been having, is that everybody's aware of options that are out there. And we've seen that, federal extensions for food share, and we've seen a lot of things happening, and even getting to the point where we're hopeful that there might be an agreement on another package in Congress, and hopefully in the next couple of days. We'll see how that goes. I know the Senate and the House are in different spots right now. Brian, do you want to maybe weigh in a little bit again on where things are at over there? I know it's pretty dicey, and I know the election's thrown everything into craziness and things like that, but it's still important for us to double back and see how things are going federally on potential for legislation.
Yeah, there's not a ton more I can add to what's been in the news, but just that negotiations are ongoing. They're very leadership driven, and by that I mean Senator Baldwin's not really involved, but it does seem to be negotiated between Speaker Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin about what the terms and size of a relief package will be. We've been very hopeful that we can get something done. It's obviously crucially important for Wisconsin, and particularly as we enter these winter months, the prospect of not having enhanced unemployment and other assistance is very, very disturbing. And we really would like to get something done quickly. And if there's anything any news on that, I will be sure to report it to the task force as soon as I hear it, and particularly if there's anything specifically related, to, manufacturers and industry and things like that that would be relevant to the situation. I'll pass that on as well.
Good. And give our best to Senator Baldwin and tell her thanks for, jumping in and getting a lot more active on this lately. I really appreciate the effort, and it's known, and it's the public appreciates it. So thank her for that for us. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to double back on a situation that for a long resolution on. I wanted to check in with, I didn't know if Mr. Pavlik might be on to maybe, or, Chadwick, or, maybe even Todd Beneke to kind of update us on where things lie with labor negotiations on extended benefits and things like that, if we've all had resolution towards that, or if there's still some delay and problems ongoing with that as well. I didn't know if Tim maybe you wanted to weigh in first.
Yeah, thank you. We are still having hurdles we're working through. Unfortunately, some of the members have not gotten payment coupons or notifications because the first group that was laid off seemed like they got everything, but the second group we're having issues with. Talking with local HR, they are blaming their vendor, Ameriflex, for having system issues. Ameriflex is telling our members that it's a Verso issue. So I'm not really sure. We're trying to work through that at a local and a corporate level. I'm a bit disappointed to hear what David Sams had to say and the efforts of the co-op of not being able to do what they want to do and move forward. Our membership really is counting on someone to run this mill and to continue to make this town and this area a viable area for their families to live in. Thank you, everyone, for the support on that, of trying to get Verso to move on that. Unfortunately, it wasn't unexpected, and it's a bit par for the course for Verso with the experiences of the Luke Mill, of how they sat out there for a number or for a year or so, hoping that there would be a buyer or someone would reach out and save that community in that area, and it didn't happen. And again, it seems to be par for the course with Verso. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of confidence in Verso running this mill, and I think the people would like to move on, and a lot of people have moved on. They're going to struggle with having a workforce going forward if this continues to go through the end of the year and into the spring and summer. You're going to lose a lot of people. People are going to move on, whether it's through retirement, extended training through the TAA, or just different employment, and that concerns me greatly. We have to have a workforce that's going to be able to operate this mill, and without the expertise of some of the people that are out there, it's going to be tough. And to make it through a Wisconsin winter with that pulp mill, and I'm not overly confident that it's buttoned up as good as it should be. Not a warm place in a normal winter when it's running, and when it's not running, I'm very concerned. So I really wish and encourage that Verso would do something about this before the end of the year, make their decision and let these people move forward, and let our community move forward. That's what we definitely really need. Thank you to the TAA group, though. I will pass that on to my membership that the packets will be coming be mailed in the next day or two. They were looking for them. They've been looking for them pretty hot and heavy. So they're looking at making their next life decision. So that's good news to hear that that's going out, and we'll share the timelines that you shared with us, sessions and things like that. We'll get that to our members very quickly through our Facebook page today or tomorrow. So thanks for that. I guess that's where I'm at. If Chadwick's on, he can elaborate a little more if you'd like.
Yeah, Chadwick, are you on?
I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah,
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add to that other than I do have a question. Because like Tim said, there's a lot of people sitting out there wondering if they're going to have a job or not. And with this latest communication from David Sams, somehow those people should be let know what's going on, because they need to move on. you know,
Yeah.
they really need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Teston, I know you also had some comments.
Yeah, as we're wrapping up here again, I just want to thank all the members of the task force for their work over these last several months and everything that we've done to be a resource for the community and those families impacted. And again, David, not to pile on here, but I hope that you relay this message back to the board, the level of frustration that there is with Verso as an entity, because it seems as though we have spun our wheels for months and now we have gone full circle to where we are back at square one. And as you've heard from Todd, you've heard from Chadwick, we have families who don't have the ability or the luxury to sit around and wait. So if Verso's serious about staying in the area, then they need to be reaching out immediately to the Evers administration, to Secretary Hughes, to work on an incentive, using the tools that exist currently, whether it's the enterprise zones, various tax credits that could be utilized to get you guys back up and running. Or if that's not an option, then give us the benchmarks that would needed to be hit with the market environment to get up and running. And if not, then we just need to cut ties. We have a willing buyer that's out there willing to come in. And it's a tough decision, I get that, but we have families that simply cannot wait. So again, I don't want to paint you as a bad guy here, David, but I want that message relayed back to the board of directors, because we simply just can't sit here and spin our tires waiting for Verso to make a decision based on the dollars and cents that they could get from a sale of the mill.
No, I appreciate that, and I'll certainly give the feedback. So I do also want to say I appreciate Tim's comments, and Tim's been great. Chad, all that group with as we've challenges, especially as he mentioned, maybe with a second wave of layoffs. People running into any challenges from a benefit standpoint. They've been really great at keeping me in the loop and working with the various parties to make sure that we do in fact get those benefits and have the least amount of pain and challenges for them. We have been working through each and every one of those as they come, and we'll continue to do so, and I really appreciate Tim's effort on that end.
All right, I think there's been a lot of conversation here today, and I think there's a lot of action steps that need to be taken here moving forward. I think it's time that Representative Shanklin, Senator Teston, Representative Vandermeer, and myself have another conference call in the next week or so here with leadership at Verso, just to relay that message too. I trust David to do that, but I also want them to hear from us directly. I will also put another action step together for WDC and ask Stacey Johnson to communicate what we've heard today with Secretary Hughes, and to make sure that the Evers administration and the governor know exactly what we're facing at this point. I want to thank every single person on this task force for everything that you've done to bring us all together, to share information as quickly as humanly possible. We are going to keep working through this, and as we hit the election here in the next couple of weeks, I know it's craziness and there's all kinds of stuff going on. This is the one place I felt completely comfortable in saying everything about everything and not having to worry about political, whatever's going on. So I appreciate everybody being open, honest, and having a lot of fruitful conversation here. Our work isn't done. I will definitely make sure that the legislators get this contact information. We reach out this week to incorporate and relay our concerns as well. And moving forward, I think, it is my 100% intention to put every ounce of effort behind the Consolidated Cooperative and proving their fruitfulness, improving their willingness, proving their readiness. We are going to make sure 100% that they are as ready as possible. And if there are any other buyers that need help from Moelis, we'll make sure that the network that we have that can share that information with them will get that information across. We do have back channel communications that can help lead into those conversations, and we'll keep moving forward with those. Keep everybody moving forward together here. Great job in getting all of this information out to the public. If anything changes over the next 2 weeks, we will definitely keep you in email communication. 2 weeks from today would be the day after the election, probably not the best day to meet. So my target date would be 2 weeks from Friday as our next meeting to kind of give us that lag time in between all that kind of stuff that's going on. I get the craziness that's going on, but from what we heard today, it definitely needs to be another meeting in 2 weeks. So I appreciate everybody's time today. If you got further questions, feel free to reach out to our legislative offices and we will keep that communication flowing. Thank you for your time today. And if we don't see you soon, then we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott. Is he leaving?